What's going on?
I need to file a missing person.
Okay, for?
My daughter. We can't find her. We got a call yesterday saying she was shot in the head, thrown in the trunk of a car, and they took off.
You see something bad?
Let me out. Look, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. I got 11 numbers, 23 years in the system. I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. Without my attorney present, nobody else sitting here, I ain't got nothing to say.
Who's your attorney?
What one?
The one you want to talk to, man.
This is 39-year-old Danny Hamby, and he's going to desperately need the attorney that he's asking for. After being the last person to see 18-year-old Samantha Guthrie at a rundown trap house, he has a lot of questions to answer. Tragically, he isn't the only one. Detectives race against the clock to determine what happened to Sam, but little did they know that they were stepping into the most disturbing case they had ever encountered.
Well, just pulled up.
Akron police, anyone here? Make yourself known.
Akron police!
Samantha Ann Marie Guthrie loved life, and she filled the short one she lived with love, compassion, and courtesy. Though it wasn't without struggles. Her parents divorced when she was very young, and soon after graduation she moved in with her father and stopped speaking to her mother. Her plans to become a neonatal nurse to selflessly help babies was put on the back burner, and she found herself falling into the wrong crowd that stayed in the house on Lillian Street. On November 5th, 2018, Joni Jackson called 911 dispatch in Akron, Ohio to report her daughter missing after receiving a heartbreaking call from her niece.
Hello. What's going on?
I need to file a missing person.
Okay, for?
My daughter.
Okay. How old your daughter?
She's 18.
She's an adult.
Consider you.
What, does she have any type of mental illness or? Okay, so what makes her missing?
We can't find her. We got a call yesterday saying she was shot in the head, thrown in the trunk of a car, and they took off.
You got this call yesterday?
Yeah.
You called the police?
The police were called yesterday. They went over to the house that it supposedly happened at. They checked. They said they didn't see anything.
Right. Okay. And where was this supposed to be at?
On Lillian.
Lillian. The problem is that she's an adult. It's completely different than being a juvenile. What's the address again?
375 Lillian.
All right, let me go make a phone call. All right, and let me see what I can do. Okay, I'll do an MP report for you. Okay, but I don't know if it's going to make the database or not. That's not up to me. It's up to the detectives. And without any mental issues that somebody can take advantage of her type thing, they normally don't enter them. But that's not up to me.
Does it matter that she was in the psych ward last year for 3 days? Attempted suicide?
Gotta stop. That's not up to me. That's up to the court.
In Ohio, people can only be added to the missing persons database if they meet one of the following 3 criteria. First, if the individual has a physical or mental disability. Second, if the individual is proven to be missing under circumstances that directly indicate that that person's safety may be in danger. And third, if the person is missing under circumstances that indicate that the person's disappearance is involuntary. Tragically, people who struggle with substance abuse disorder often voluntarily disappear for days, weeks, or months at a time without contacting their family members. In this case, Samantha's drug usage is a buffer between police and justice for her. Not only that, but Samantha's strained relationship with her mother gives police more reason to believe that she may have just run off. Her mother goes on to further explain her relationship with Samantha.
I haven't seen her since August. Talked to her middle of September. But he just talked to her last night, Saturday night. My ex-husband talked.
Your ex-husband talked to her
Saturday
night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think, to be honest with you, I think somebody's playing a prank on you. Somebody, whether they're upset at you or what, I don't know. But somebody might be playing a prank on you.
99% of them are pranks, because I've gone to a number of these calls.
I can't find her.
Because I had a over on Lansing, I had somebody call the parents and say their son, and they even mentioned him by name, was shot and killed the day before. So then they called to talk to their son, and their son didn't answer. They freaked out. And the son was asleep. And they had called us, and actually the son was fine. So, like 99% of the ones I go on, they're just people picking on you.
That would be fantastic. You want the name of the person she was last with, the supposed person that shot her?
Okay, sure.
Danny Hamby.
Who?
Danny Hamby.
Danny Hamby?
It wasn't ideal for the officer to suggest that the call about Samantha was a prank to her mother. While this may be seen as comforting, in this case it just gives her mother false hope. The details of the call, combined with Samantha not being heard from for 3 full days, is a red flag and certainly something worth investigating. Thankfully, Samantha's mother wasn't the only one who was concerned. Her father, John, also contacted police about his concerns. The night she went missing, November 3rd, Sam called her father at 2 a.m. through Facebook Messenger, asking him to get her an Uber to the house on Lillian Street, which she frequented with friends. From the 3rd to the 5th, John hadn't heard from Samantha. He had heard, however, from Haley, his niece, the same person who called Sam's mom to tell her that Sam had been shot and put in the back of a car. Soon after John and Joni spoke to police, Akron police descended on the Lillian Street house. What awaited them inside would confirm John and Joni's worst fears.
Akron police, anyone here?
We have it up here. Oh, the door happy.
Akron police, anyone here? Make yourself known. Akron police, anyone here? Make yourself known.
Send me back.
The house on Lillian Street had been abandoned for several years. Ever since, it was a makeshift house where people crashed, did drugs, and generally partied. The state of the house, the graffiti, and the trash are dead giveaways to police about the activity that took place inside. However, it was one thing that they noticed on their initial sweep that was the most concerning: a bullet hole shot through the wall near the staircase. From this, officers were able to get a search warrant for the home. Upon a deep search of the home, they were able to locate a ripped-up carpet with blood on it, bloody clothing, and evidence in the backyard that looked as though someone had tried to burn it. It was evident that whatever had happened to Samantha here, she likely was no longer alive. Officers quickly located Marshall, the person who reportedly told Kaylee what happened the night that Sam went missing.
All right, so we're here to talk about something that happened over on Lillian Street back in November 4th.
Mm-hmm.
All right, why don't you tell me about what happened that night?
Well, Sam had been trying to get a ride over to the house for a few hours. I didn't feel like driving anymore to go pick her up, so I didn't pick her up that night. And a few hours later, she showed up from an Uber, I'm guessing, that her dad had.
All right, now when you say the house, what's the address?
75 Lillian.
Okay.
I'm guessing, from what I've been told, her dad paid for an Uber for her to get over there.
Okay.
And about half hour after I got back to the house, and half hour, 45 minutes or so, Danny showed up and knocked on the back door. I answered the door.
Now, how do you know Danny?
Just in passing.
Do you know him from the house?
Yeah.
And you know what his last name is?
Hamby.
Okay, was he by himself?
No, he was with Tony.
Okay.
Is what I was told her name was. And that one black guy that I've never seen before. I'd never even called his name.
So they came up to the back door.
Yeah.
All right, and they knocked on the door.
Yeah.
And who let him in?
I did.
Okay, so you let him in, and then what happened? Was he just hanging out, or was
he was kind of standing like right by the doorway as you come from the kitchen into the living room?
Okay. And who else was in the living room with you and Will?
Me, Nakota, Yoshi was in and out, and
In and out of the house or in and out of the room?
in and out of the house, in and out of the room. That's normal for Yoshi.
Right.
And Mama.
Okay.
I don't know her real name.
Okay. Do you know Yoshi's real name?
I do believe it's Dylan something.
Okay. All right, so Sam and all them were upstairs.
Yes.
So what happens next?
I didn't hear any yelling or anything, but music was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam came downstairs looking kind of distraught. And she looked at me. I'm like, then go out the back door. Go out the back door. If you know, she kind of looked like she was panicking. So I'm like, leave.
Right.
But she went to the basement, and 2 or 3 minutes later, Danny and Tony came downstairs and went down to looking around the house for her. Went down to the basement. I heard a commotion.
Now, did they say they were looking for her?
No, but you could
tell they were searching.
They were searching.
Okay.
And I heard a little bit of a commotion, and then Sam came upstairs first, and she had like a little bit of a bloody nose.
Okay.
Or a busted lip. I couldn't tell specifically, but it was a little bit of nose. It was a little bit of blood in the nose face, in the nose mouth area.
Okay.
And she went back upstairs to Jody's room. Danny and Tony followed, and I don't know.
Followed her or chased her?
No, followed. They just kind of, followed. And 5, maybe 10 minutes later, Sam came running down the stairs. Danny was right behind her, and by the time she got to the 4th or 5th stair down from the living room floor, he shot her in the back of the head.
Very quickly, officers had a straightforward story from Marshall about what happened inside the home. But could they trust it? He disclosed that 39-year-old Danny Hamby and his girlfriend Tony were involved in Samantha's disappearance. But even more people may have been involved in covering it up.
And then Hamby looks at me and Yoshi and says, well, put her in the trunk. I looked at him and said, fuck no, that's my friend. You're nuts. Not happening. And he kind of pulled his gun out and kind of waved it at me. I'm like, if you're going to pull it, fucking do it. I'm not the type of person that does anything I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do, say, and or threaten me to make me do it. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. Yoshi and William picked Sam up and carried her out the back door. I don't know if they put her in a trunk, in a car, in an SUV. I did not see the vehicle.
Now, law enforcement had 2 more names of people that were potentially involved. Yoshi, whose real name is Dylan Brown, and William Alexander. Akron police knew that they needed to speak with the people who were involved. Fortunately, they didn't have to wait long. Soon after they spoke with Marshall, a man called and reported that Danny and Tony were at his apartment and had just threatened him and waved a gun at him. Officers responded to the address, aware that this was the perfect opportunity to take both of them into custody.
Step out of the car! Step out of the car! Ma'am, move over here. Step out of the car. Stay right there. Stay right there. Hands up, please. Hands up, please. What is that? Okay. Put all that stuff down. Put it down.
Why? Why are you in this?
Put it down.
Why?
Hands on top of your head.
Why are you doing this?
Stay right there.
I'm not doing anything.
Turn around. Turn around.
Can I put my foot off?
Nope. Stay right there. I'm telling you for now, okay? I'll explain to you what's going on in a second.
Stand up.
Stand up for me. What are you doing with your foot, man?
I got
Blisters?
blisters and fucking, it's called jungle rock. There's another one right here.
Where at? Don't reach.
What do they call it?
What's your name, man?
Danny.
Danny. All right. Put your hands on your back, okay?
Can you help me?
Ain't no guns in the car, right?
It's my buddy's car. Couldn't tell you what's in there.
Is there any guns? No?
Officers set Tony and Danny in separate cars in order to prevent them from corroborating a false story together. According to Marshall, Tony was not the one who fired the shots at Sam, which may make her more willing to talk. By separating her from Danny, they're offering her safety to tell the real story of what happened. Officers enact some fantastic strategy by speaking to Tony in a comfortable conference room rather than a closed, uncomfortable interrogation space. By doing this, they can put her at ease and make her feel more secure telling them the truth. She is much more likely to think that police are viewing her as a victim rather than a perpetrator or suspect in a space like this.
We have strong reason to believe he's involved in her disappearance.
He couldn't do that.
So,
He couldn't do that.
why couldn't he do it?
Because he's not that type of person.
Okay. But like I said, we have a lot of information pointing to his involvement in this girl's disappearance. So what I want from you to know if you've ever seen this girl before, and think hard before you answer, because we want to know if you've seen her. Okay, and you've never seen her before. That's true.
No. I never have.
You've never seen this girl before?
No.
So here's the thing. Big problems. Okay? I'm going to be straight with you. He's looking at some serious problems. And from what you're telling me, if you were with him that whole time, the past 3 days, which she went disappeared in the last 3 days. So if you were with him the whole time, you know what my next leap is. We've been at this since early this morning. Okay? We know what was going on at his house. We know why. How do you think the police ended up at his house? Have any clue?
No.
Guess who contacted us? Do you think we just showed up there out of the blue?
I truthfully don't know why you guys showed up.
Well, we showed up there for a reason. We did. The uniform officers didn't show up there
Not by accident.
So wait. So you think?
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
But that's ridiculous because he.
It's not ridiculous.
Are you really ready to do that for him?
What are you talking about?
Are you really ready to take that step?
What are you talking about? Ready to do it? That's the truth.
Okay, we're gonna go. We'll try this again. We didn't show up at that house on time. You aren't here on accident. The police weren't out doing random patrol, and he knows it. Okay. For him, we have people to verify that. We haven't been sitting here all day on a Monday, just out of the blue, happen to stop on Talmadge Avenue when in a car that has been identified in this girl's disappearance. So this is not a misdemeanor crime we're investigating. We don't do that, okay? When we get involved, something bad has happened. So I don't want you to get in any trouble with something that you were just along for the ride. But if you're going to sit here and tell us with you the whole time, you think you're helping him, but you're not.
You're hurting yourself.
Shockingly, Tony doesn't crack. She maintains her story that she and Danny were together and were never at the Lillian Street address on the day that Sam was murdered. Police attempt to coax a confession out of her by suggesting that if she was a bystander, they want to help her, but it's no use.
Let me tell you about the house where it happened at. We've talked to people that's been at the house that knows.
Who's these people?
They were all at this house where this girl disappeared from. In fact, something bad happened to her at the house. You know why we know that? Because the guys, we've already talked to him all day. We spent all day talking to him. And he gave us detailed accounts of what happened at that house. Talking to you is because you have to think hard about how you want to handle this. Because if you're going to sit here and vouch for him, that can get you caught. That can get you in trouble.
A few doors down the hall, officers had Danny in a much less comfortable interrogation room.
Oh, out there. All right, well, relax here. They're going to come and talk to you, okay?
After getting Danny settled into the room, officers decided to take a very different approach with him. Often, law enforcement will leave a suspect alone in an interrogation room where they can be monitored while their anxiety about the situation increases. This puts law enforcement at a major advantage when they are interrogating their suspect. Danny was left alone in the room for approximately an hour and a half with no stimulus, no conversation, and no distraction from the reason that he was sitting in that uncomfortable chair. When officers finally arrive to question Danny, he makes it clear that this isn't his first encounter with law enforcement.
Alright, look, I'm gonna say it like this, man. I got 11 numbers, 23 years in the system. I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. Without my attorney present, nobody else sitting here, I ain't got nothing to say.
Who's your attorney?
What one?
You're the one you want to talk to, man.
I'm gonna call my mom and see if she got John's numbers. I don't know the numbers.
Your mom an attorney?
No, my sister was.
John Sand?
No, hell no.
Hey, tell us how
I'd rather take Frank Piccatelli.
Wow.
And he's still incarcerated.
That's a statement.
you in the same time Frank was?
No.
Though both Danny and Tony were tight-lipped, officers had plenty of leads. They received a search warrant to search the car that Danny and Tony had been driving. Shockingly, or maybe not that shocking, extensive blood evidence was discovered in the trunk of the car. Unfortunately, without Sam's body in custody, officers were unable to test the blood. In the meantime, though, they fortunately had more people to interview that they hoped would be a little more loose-lipped than Danny and Tony: Dylan Brown and William Alexander. Within seconds of being in the interrogation room, Dylan stumbles.
So, are you familiar with the house on Lillian?
Yes.
When was the last time you were at that house?
2, 3, or 4 days ago.
Who was over there when you were over there?
Just me. Me and my brother.
Who's your brother?
The long pause that Dylan takes is nothing but positive information for law enforcement. It's a hesitation that they can exploit to get answers. Fortunately, it doesn't take them very long to do just that.
Wow, what's going on?
You know, somebody's missing from that house. We have reason to believe that she was killed. So, this is serious stuff. Help us. This is serious. Did something bad happen to her?
I don't know.
She's a young girl, man.
No,
What happened to her?
I don't know. I just met her a couple of days ago.
Help us. Help us. You see something bad? This is about you. This is
I don't
about
know what
you.
happened. If I did, I would tell you.
What did you hear happened?
I heard she left with somebody. Probably that dude that you're talking about.
You know him?
Mm-mm.
Are you afraid of him? What did you hear?
I heard he left with someone, and then the next day we were all leaving, and then in his car got out, asked for where she was because that's his little sister, and he said that he was going to shoot all of us.
Is that at the house on Lillian?
We were walking away from that house.
Aware that Dylan had an attraction to Sam and was potentially interested in starting a relationship with her, officers lean into pitying him. The sympathy that they show a potentially grieving Dylan is more likely to get him to open up.
Can you not put my name in the discovery?
Well, I mean, I understand you're scared, okay? But the first concern is this girl.
I know.
How do you think we found out about this? There's only one thing that makes a person get this emotional. That's if they saw something bad.
I remember a couple of days ago when we were talking, we were having a good time, and I don't know why.
Don't know why what?
Why I feel so close to her.
So you guys hit it off. Well, you're close to the same age, right? You felt a connection with her? Because you've maybe had the same problems growing up and stuff like that?
Probably. I didn't find up to this point. Not talking about it, not thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about it, but.
What were you thinking about?
Just that this person that could have been a potentially good friend, or more maybe, I don't know, is not going to be that person.
Maybe you can help her. She may not be here, but that doesn't mean you can't help her.
Help her what?
Let's find out what happened to her.
Once more, the officers beg Dylan and appeal to his morals. It's clear to them that holding in this information is tearing Dylan up and that he wants to tell the truth. All he needs is a bit more convincing and support.
Who's that?
You tell me.
I've never seen him before. He looks really familiar. Is that him?
You tell me.
I don't know. Honestly, I've never met the person.
Have you seen him at the house?
No.
So if you care about her, if you're honest with me about caring for this young girl,
I'll be honest with you. I've never met this person or seen him. Not at that house or any other house.
Are you afraid of him?
No.
Did he threaten you?
No.
There's something right. You're not going to be on Front Street. You're not going to be the point person. We're just trying to find answers. We have the responsibility to our father and our parents. We would do the same for anybody, no matter what problems they're having in their life. And I know nothing good happened to you, but this is a chance to do something good. Just help us. We're not asking you to draw any conclusions or anything. Just help us. Tell us where we should go.
He apparently knew who I was. He knocked on the door, tried to come to the door. I had it closed and locked with the music blaring. And so when we got the door open, she went downstairs. I grabbed everything of ours to go downstairs. And I was on my way out. Sam came back in, and I guess his girl or someone came in with her. They were yelling at each other, arguing. He followed her and held the gun up, shot. I don't know where he hit her. He only grazed her. She fell on the ground at the bottom of the stairs. I had to carry her out to the trunk, put her in the trunk.
Did he make you do that? Did he make you carry her out to the trunk?
I wasn't not going to. Yeah, when he shot, I heard it. All of us turned around, stopped following them, went back into the rooms. He had me sit down and have another girl who was freaking out, had her sit down. He left, came back into the room, said, "You look like a strong man, come here." So I followed him.
You still have the gun out at that time?
No.
Dylan's story is a near perfect match for the story that Marshall told police. Finally, police feel that they have real answers. However, there are still questions. Namely, where was Samantha's body?
Do you know where he took her to?
No, he just said that he had a spot.
Was he by himself?
He had that girl with him and his lieutenant.
Who's his lieutenant?
I don't know.
Is he a white guy? Probably. Is he a white, black dude? Nickname or anything like him? This man is the one that fired the shot.
I don't know if she wasn't killed when I carried her out.
She was still alive when you carried her out?
She was moaning, yeah.
So he came back in the room and says, "You look like you're..."
Yeah.
What were his exact words?
He said, "You look sharp, man."
Did you have the gun out at this point? What else did he say?
To burn my clothes.
No,
Which I already knew to.
wait, so he comes into the room. I mean, did you know what he wanted you to do? Or
Absolutely.
so what did you do?
I cleaned the living room like it was any other house that I had to clean.
Dylan's disclosure that he helped clean up the blood is an indication to police that he is being brutally honest. He is certainly aware that that makes him an accessory to a crime, and still he's forthcoming. For some, the truth is just too horrible to keep inside. Those people are the ones who benefit law enforcement and grieving families the most. So with this information from Dylan, officers were certain that they knew who had what role in the tragic, senseless murder of Samantha Guthrie. Yet, there were more people that they had to interview. William Alexander, who Dylan referred to as the lieutenant and Marshall referred to as the guard, was said to have ordered people around to clean up the mess and was behind the disposal of the body. Now, while he did corroborate the story about Samantha being shot by Danny, he had a very different story about the nature of his involvement.
We're trying to wrap this up. You can understand our concern is obviously mostly for the family. I think, and I think you're probably feeling that way too a little bit. Whatever this girl's relationship with her mom and dad, she has a mom and dad, and they want to be able to bury the kid. We know she's dead, and I understand you're having some issues as far as where you guys actually were at. So we want you to try at least think about like where you guys with the body in the back of the car. It's the next morning. It's daylight. I know you're probably wiped out. I mean, we're wiped out, dude. We've been at this since 7 o'clock this morning, so we're wiped out too. We ain't eaten. I know you probably haven't eaten either, but did you go towards to the right or the left?
It's alright, yeah.
That's all right.
I remember backing out and going up the hill.
Up the hill away from the closer street?
Yeah.
That's Van Buren?
That's not that what it is.
It's called Van Buren.
It runs along the train tracks. Okay, that's Van Buren.
So you remember going up the hill to where?
Going up the hill. And unfortunately, it's just the way that I was laying down in the back.
You were like actually physically laid down, or you were like just kind of relaxing?
No, they were all laid out. They wanted me to lay low. Like, I was crunched up, I was down, I had below the window level.
But you're somewhat familiar with this area, right? I mean,
not in Barberton.
But you work for a country club, is that right?
Fire country club. Yeah, so at Barberton still, Kenmore more so than Barberton.
Okay.
So I really interviewed that well. That's the reason why, where I ended up where I did when I left the house, because I didn't know where the hell I was going. Really, I ended up going by some school,
Did he tell you?
No, I thought they were going to kill me. I thought they were going to kill me too. I thought they wanted me to lay down in the bag and they wanted me to see where we're going, and I really thought that was it for me, really. I thought they were going to take me somewhere.
Did they threaten you with a gun to get in the car?
Not that but they had already threatened me the night before with a gun, and that's all it took for me. I mean, I had seen look in the guy's eye, and he already shot somebody. Mm-hmm. There wasn't much more,
Alexander tries to portray himself as a victim in this, who was terrified of Danny and Tony. This is an attempt to make his role in the murder appear involuntary. But fortunately, police had more than enough information to back up his willing participation. 3 weeks after Samantha Guthrie went missing, her body was found off a wooded road about 9 miles away from the Lillian Street house. Neither Danny, Tony, nor William chose to disclose where she was. Instead, a passerby was the one to locate her. Danny Hamby was sentenced to life in prison. His girlfriend Tony was sentenced to 16 years. Alexander was sentenced to 12 years, and Dylan Brown was sentenced to 5 years probation. Unfortunately for him, however, in 2020, he was linked to a double homicide and has since been sentenced to life in prison. Now, if you think this case was horrific, well, you need to check out my video on the teen who stabbed his mother and sent pictures to his friends.